Okay, so today I'll be talking on role of Vaptans in treatment of hyponatremia in ICU. So this talk I gave it in national conference in Varanasi in the year 2018 in March. So the topics I would be covering in this talk would be the physiology of sodium hemostasis and what is the role of oral and intravenous Vaptans in correcting hyponatremia. So we look into some of the studies. So there are two molecules that have been studied. So tolvaptan, there are two trials, SALT 1 trial and SALT 2 trial. And lixivaptan, this is not available in India. So they have done a study called LIBRA study. And there are studies comparing oral tolvaptan versus 3% saline. And with regards to IV conivaptan, which is no longer currently available in India, there are three studies, and one of which was published from our center and take home message. So I think when you look at the background, so what we understand is the ionic content of a ocean or a sea is similar to that of the blood. So the sodium and chloride is predominantly present in the interstitial space, and the sodium and chloride contributes to 80% of the osmolality, that is 280 to 290 milliosmoles per kg. So the whole osmolality of the blood is contributed predominantly by sodium and chloride. And what we need to understand is this range of 280 to 290, even minimal disturbance within the body up to 1%, even when there is a minimal change in this osmolality of 1%, so body has dramatic mechanisms to detect and correct any changes that are happening with the osmolality within the body. So it is such a fine balance nature exercises in keeping the osmolality in that range 280 to 290. And this detection and correction happens by neural and hormonal systems. So, and your whole neuronal and hormonal systems maintain serum osmolality within 10% of the standard deviation. So, it does not allow things to go above 10% of the standard deviation. So, any small disturbance, I think the corrective mechanisms are put in place. And what are the corrective mechanisms? So, there are corrected mainly by osmoreceptors and baroreceptors. So baroreceptors are present on the atrium, which gets activated in the setting of any disturbance in the osmolarity. And you have osmoreceptors present in the brain in the hypothalamic and pituitary region, so which gets activated in the setting of disturbance in the sodium and the osmolality that ensues. So, and when there is a gross disparity in the osmolality, the thirst center gets activated, and concomitantly these receptors, osmoreceptors, get activated. So, what happens when they get activated? So, the neurohumoral coordination, the centers are present in the hypothalamus. So, the stimulus comes from hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary, and the osmoreceptors get activated, and there is production of vasopressin, arginine vasopressin. So we need to understand this arginine vasopressin in high doses causes vasoconstriction, and in otherwise it has antidiuretic hormone effect. Okay. So the mechanism of action is whenever there is minimum change in the serum osmolality within the blood, so ADH gets produced, antidiuretic hormone. And this antidiuretic hormone acts on the V2 receptors present on the collecting tubules, and which causes absorption of the water. So, and it increases the urine osmolality because it does not allow water to get excreted. It reabsorbs all the water, and you have concentrated urine, which leads to increase in the urine osmolality. So that would be the mechanism of antidiuretic hormone. And what they found is the maximum ADH production happens when the serum osmolality touches or goes up to 290 or more than 290. So that is when the thirst center gets activated, ADH gets released, and maximum ADH secretions happen when serum osmolality goes beyond 290 milliosmoles per kg. And more than 290, the thirst center gets activated, and so on and so forth. So this is the pictorial representation of how the ADH gets activated and the receptors they act on. So let's jump into the studies. So when you look at the studies, so the oral vaptans, so you have oral vaptans and IV vaptans. So the vaptans are vasopressin receptor antagonists. So these are the four oral vaptans that are available, but in India we have only tolvaptan. So lixivaptan, mazavaptan, satavaptan, and tolvaptan. So IV vaptans, we have conivaptan. So this was available in India, which is now stopped production. So it is no longer available. So conivaptan acts on V2 and V1A receptors. And V1 receptors, you have V1A and V1B receptors. So they together cause vasoconstriction and ACTH release. And as I already mentioned, antidiuretic hormone predominantly acts on the V2 receptors and prevents and causes absorption of the water and increases the urine osmolality. And vasopressin receptor antagonists or VAPTANs, they act on the V2 receptors and they block the action of ADH. So what that eventually leads to is free water excretion. So they have a lot of free water excretion, and the hyponatremia is corrected. So, and vasopressin receptor antagonist increases serum sodium in euvolemic hyponatremia or hypervolemic hyponatremia, and they are not meant to be used in hypovolemic hyponatremia, because in hypovolemia there is already hypovolemia, and if it causes free water secretion or excretion, there is a lot more dehydration that sets in, and your hyponatremia does not get corrected. So the role of vaptans is only in euvolemic hyponatremia or hypervolemic hyponatremia. So euvolemic would be typically SIADH or drugs or any other causes, and hyperolemia would be heart failure, liver failure, or renal failure. So let's look into the studies. So when you look at tolvaptan study, these are the two landmark studies, SALT 1 and SALT 2 trials. So when you look at the SALT 1 trial, which came in year 2006, so this study was done in 448 patients, out of which 190 patients had SIADH. So if you look at the sodium increase at day 4 with tolvaptan, it was 134 to 135 when compared to placebo of 130, and that was statistically. So when tolvaptan was used in comparison to the placebo, the sodium increase was found to be significantly better. And they looked at sodium increase at day 30, even that was significantly better when compared to placebo. And even the neurological status significantly improved with the tolvaptan group. So in this study, they did question about long-term efficacy, which was uncertain. So this was the saltwater trial. So this came from the Canadian group. So this study was done in 111 patients, and follow-up was, since the SALT 1 trial did not show long-term efficacy, they looked at a long-term effect of this. They did follow-up for 2 years, and they saw the mean serum sodium was significantly higher with tolvaptan group as compared to the placebo. So, and treatment had to be discontinued in a small group of patients for various reasons. And so the improvement in what they found in the saltwater trial was there was greater improvement in serum sodium, predominantly new volemic hyponatremia, which came under SIADH, and in heart failure. So this had a profound impact in these two conditions, SIADH and heart failure. And the reason why they had to discontinue, and some of the symptoms they had, was they had dryness of the mouth, fatigue, and increased frequency, which you would expect with tolvaptan because they cause free water excretion. So they did have some fatigue, dryness of mouth, and increased urinary frequency. So with regards to lixivaptan, this is a Libra study. So the primary endpoint in this study was to look at serum sodium increase from baseline to day 7. So this was the study done in 106 patients. Follow-up was done for 30 days. So lixivaptan, they used a dosage of 25 to 100 milligram per day. So they looked at raise in serum sodium at day 7. And as you see, the raise in serum sodium at day 7 was significantly higher in lixivaptan group as compared to the placebo. And patients where normalization of the sodium happened was in 44.4% as opposed to 23 points. So normalization of sodium happened better in lixivaptan group. And mortality, as you see, there was no difference, and rapid rise in sodium was slightly higher, although it was not statistically significant. So this was a graphical representation, and that was, so the sodium correction was better and normalization of sodium also was better. So that was, so if you see the saltwater 1, salt 1 and salt 2 trials, and saltwater trial with conivaptan and lixivaptan, I think all three drugs have shown promise in increasing sodium when compared to placebo. But these are the studies which have done comparing Vaptans with placebo. So we need to see how does Vaptans compare when you compare it with 3% saline. I think that is what this particular study looked in. So this came from India, so which looked at efficacy of oral tolvaptan versus 3% hypertonic saline for correction of hyponatremia in post-operative patients. So this came in 2017. The study was done in 40 patients. So group H is the hypertonic saline and group T is the tolvaptan. And as you see at 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, there was no difference between 3% and, but at the end of 72 hours, they saw that sodium correction was better in tolvaptan group as compared to hypertonic, and that was statistically significant. And so we do not know for sure whether this effect sustained after 72 hours. And in hypertonic saline group, they had lower potassium and day 3 fluid balance also was lower. So in hypertonic saline group. And tolvaptan, the dosage they used was 15 to 45 milligrams per day, and the change in serum sodium they noted was less than 4 milliequivalents per liter. So that was with oral conivaptan with oral tolvaptan with 3% hypertonic. So this was IV conivaptan studies. So this was a study which came from Israel group to look at assessment of efficacy and safety of intravenous conivaptan in euvolemic and hypervolemic hyponatremia. So the primary endpoint was to look at change in serum sodium from baseline to the adjusted area of sodium time curve. So they looked at the adjusted area under the sodium time changes. And the secondary endpoint was to look at the time duration from baseline until when the sodium increased to more than or equal to 4 milliequivalents per liter. And the secondary endpoint was to look at raise in the serum sodium from baseline to the end of treatment. So these were the secondary endpoints they looked into the study. And IV conivaptan, the dose they gave was 20 milligram loading dose followed by 40 to 80 milligrams per day as infusion for 96 hours. So they had 84 patients and who had hyponatremia due to euvolemia or hypervolemic hyponatremia. So they had conivaptan group and placebo group. So they looked at serum sodium change from baseline to the adjusted area under sodium time curve, and they found there was an increase in the area of the change in the serum sodium. So which means serum sodium increase was found to be much better in the conivaptan group as compared to placebo. That was statistically significant. When they look at the rise in the sodium from baseline to the end of treatment with 40 milligram, there was 6.3 plus or minus 0.7 milliequivalent rise in sodium as opposed to 0.8 plus or minus 0.8 in placebo. When they used higher dose, you can see the rise in sodium was even more profound, 9.4, and that was all statistically significant. Adverse effects, I think with 40 mg, adverse effects was seen in a lesser number of patients when compared to 80 mg. I think 15% of them had some adverse events. So the conclusions they made from this Israeli paper was in patients with hyponatremia due to euvolemia or hypervolemia, 40 mg of conivaptan for 4 days significantly improves the serum sodium level, and the treatment was well tolerated. So they suggested 40 milligram maybe little more safer because 80 milligram had little more side effects. So this was a study from our organization. So we did the study, we published it in IJCCM in 2016. So the efficacy we did only in patients with SIADH, efficacy of conivaptan and hypertonic. So we used IV conivaptan and hypertonic saline treating hyponatremia due to SIADH in our tertiary care unit. So as you see in our study, when we compared conivaptan with 3%, the change in the sodium became significant at 48 hours, and it remained significant even up to 72 hours. That was statistically significant. So this study was little similar to the previous study where I mentioned, where they compared oral conivaptan with 3% saline, where they saw a similar trend, the earlier Indian study which I showed. So the effect tended to be more significant at day 48 hours, and then it lasted up until 72 hours. And what we again saw in our study, which possibly other studies did not indicate, was length of ICU stay was significantly less in conivaptan group as compared to 3%. That was statistically significant. And length of hospital stay also was lesser in conivaptan group as compared. So although it did increase sodium much better at 48 hours and 72 hours, length of ICU stay and hospital stay was curtailed in patients where IV conivaptan was used. So the conclusions we made from our study was in patients with symptomatic hyponatremia due to SIADH, IV conivaptin led to better sodium correction and it reduced the length of hospital stay and ICU stay with no adverse events. So this was the conclusion we made from our study. So this was another study from US group which efficacy of 3% saline versus conivaptin in achieving hyponatremia. This was a retrospective study from done from Jan 2009 to November 2010, done in 49 patients. So this particular study was negative. Although they used IV conivaptin and compared with hypertonic saline, if you look at the sodium correction, there was no difference between the hypertonic saline and the conivaptin group. And as you see, when you look at different timelines, at different timelines, there was no significant difference in the sodium correction between the conivaptin and 3% saline group. So now we have spoken about, yes, if you look at all the oral studies, it does show there is improvement in the serum sodium. If you look at IV conivaptin in comparison to the 3% saline, I think the two Indian studies, the one Indian study, one Israeli study, both show some promise. But we need to see what are the limitations. So this TEMPO trial, which was done by the Japanese group, I think indicated when you use Vaptans in adult polycystic kidney disease, it led to worsening of KFT. And we know tolvaptans cannot be used in liver failure because it does cause sometimes elevation in the liver enzymes. And US FDA do not approve its usage in the liver dysfunction, and there is no approval to use it for more than 30 days. And the problem with these Vaptans is the cost. So the cost also is little prohibitive. So these are some of the limitations of Vaptans. So the take-home message is Vaptans are more physiological in treatment of hyponatremia. The reason why I say physiological is it acts at the V2 receptors and prevents the reabsorption of water at the collecting tubules. I think that is more physiological rather than just restricting and giving hypertonic saline. And with mild to moderate hyponatremia, I think we still agree that fluid restriction may be good enough. But if they're symptomatic, one could consider oral Vaptans when you have euvolemic or hypervolemic hyponatremia. If patient has severe hyponatremia with mild to moderate symptoms, fluid restriction plus Vaptans could be considered. If there is severe symptomatic hyponatremia, I think fluid restriction plus Vaptans or plus or minus 3% saline could be considered. So if it is mild to moderate with no symptoms, fluid restriction and maybe salt supplement should be good enough. But if it is severe hyponatremia in euvolemic or hypervolemic, you could consider oral Vaptans. Severe symptomatic hyponatremia, I think Vaptans may be beneficial. So I have to say, as of now, we have only oral Vaptans. Although we did a study with IV conivaptin for a year, after we completed the study, this drug became unavailable. So because Sun Pharma was producing, that has stopped producing this conivaptin. And free water excretion with Vaptans is found to be occur after 1 to 2 hours after initiation. So thank you very much.